Hey guys, I'm recording this at work during my break, so if anybody from work sees this, I'm not doing this during my work hours. I am putting out an episode this week with Paul Poole, who is the kind of mastermind, lead vocalist, and primary songwriter of the band No Business from Orlando. Talk about how Paul got connected with the show, what's been the driving force for the band, their latest releases. We get into detail about the influences Paul has, how he kind of sort of got the newest iteration of this band together, some of the plans he has going forward for the band, and what is to come, what people can expect. This is a lesser-known band. If you look them up on Spotify, if you look at their videos up on YouTube, relatively small band, but I was really impressed when Paul hit me up through email and we got in contact and recorded this. It was a great episode. I really hope people check out the band No Business after this. Obviously, there will be a song playing at the end. And we do a deep dive on everything from the lyrical content that he uses to musical influences, the kind of subverting expectations that Paul does with this record that they put out, their latest record that they put out, and just everything in between. So I really hope you guys enjoy this episode. It was great to talk to Paul, and I was glad we got to throw this together and hopefully get some new eyes on his music project, No Business. Before we get into the episode, just remember you can follow the podcast at thepowerlesspod at gmail.com on all platforms. I've gotten a lot of good responses lately from people. I've also connected with a lot of new bands and a lot of new artists, which has been really cool over the past several weeks and months. Coming up on a year of this show, which is wild to me. So make sure you follow thepowerlesspod at gmail.com, thepowerlesspod on all socials. And there is a Patreon. You can go to the link tree in any of the socials and find that. I really don't promote it much, but again, you can just search the Powerless Podcast on Patreon. It's the only thing there with that name. If you want to support it, it's $2.50 a month. The last thing, this is not a political-based episode, but as some of you that listen to the show may know, I have not done an episode for 3 weeks, and there's been a reason for that. If you're paying attention to the news with what's happening in Gaza and Palestine, I really just thought it was better to use my time, what little time I have from work and different endeavors and family life and everything else, to try to call politicians, try to call government officials, to try to put any pressure you can from home, or whether you go to a protest or whatever else, to try to stop what our tax dollars, the United States tax dollars, are doing in supporting Israel and their bombardment and genocidal campaign in Gaza. As of recording this, over 5,000 people are dead in 2.5 weeks, and over 2,000 children are dead, and that is not even the full numbers. We know how these things go. I don't mean to be a buzzkill on this. I'm not trying to make this episode that is not about politics, but this is not politics. This is basic humanity. Just seeing the videos coming out of the statistics, the cutting off of water and electricity, and just the absolute crazy nonsense that we're seeing and promoting this from our own politicians, whether they're liberal or conservative, or from the Israeli government, from the Israeli Defense Forces, from their prime minister, from everything in between. It is just a real indictment on what is going on in the world right now, and I just really hope that if people hear this, you check in on sources, find international reporting. You can also go to, and I'll put this in the notes of every episode going forward until this is hopefully over, ceasefiretoday.com, to find how easily and quickly you can help put pressure on politicians and those in power to do the right thing and to try to push to stop what's going on there from happening. So again, I'm not trying to be heavy on this. We won't talk about this in this episode. There will be episodes probably coming forward about this topic, so if you get mad about that, fuck you, I don't care. But I just wanted to plug that here. Make sure people go to ceasefiretoday.com if you care about human rights, if you care about basic dignity, if you care about anything like that in between for people in Palestine and in Gaza. Just please go to that website and see what you can do to help, and also go to a protest if you feel inclined to do that, or if you have the time to do that, whatever the case may be, to put public pressure on those in power to make sure that this stops as soon as possible and as many lives can be saved as possible. So again, that's my soapbox for this episode. Paul and I talk all about music in this and talk about everything he has done in his music career and how this all got shaped together. So I hope you enjoy the episode with Paul Poole from No Business, and I'll talk to you guys soon. I'm here talking with Paul from the what I would call is a metalcore, classic metalcore sounding band, No Business, from Ontario, right? That's where you guys are from?
No, Orlando.
Oh, for some reason, okay, I'm gonna. All right, I'm here with Paul. That's funny. You know what? Fuck it, I'll leave that in there for me to sound like a dumbass. I looked at it right beforehand in your guys' bio. It said Orlando, and the last couple episodes I've done a lot of Canadian people, and I was like, yeah, Ontario. I'm gonna remember that when I say it. I'm a fucking idiot. All right,
fuck yeah.
So Paul from Orlando with the what I would call more of a like classic, you know, metalcore sounding band, No Business. Go ahead and tell, because, you know, I really enjoyed the latest release, whether you call it an album or an EP. It's I think it's 8 tracks.
Listen, man, everything's up in the air with this band. We don't even know what we're doing. So how can anybody else?
I can empathize with that as a person that does like metalcore music on my own. And we do projects where it's like, is this, I don't know, we put out 9 songs in a year. Is that an album? I have no fucking clue. Anyway, we're going to talk about the band No Business, which from what I could tell, the earliest release you guys have at least from Spotify is in 2022. So relatively, at least when it comes to releases, a new band. Really enjoy the music. When you messaged me to be on the podcast, you know, from saying you had checked out the Pulses episode, Johnny Booth episode, a couple others. I checked out the band and, you know, absolutely fantastic. Really enjoy the sound. For people that don't know the band, for people that would listen to this, I don't have a lot of Florida listeners, so maybe people will hear this for the first time, check out the band. Tell people what you do in the band, and we'll go from there with everything we're going to talk about today.
Cool. So I'm Paul. I do vocals in the band. I kind of write everything. I kind of spearhead everything for the band. So like it's funny that you said like the releases are from like 2022 and all that. We had other stuff from way before, which funny enough leads into how I like found out about Pulses. Is they were on our first show ever in 2017 before I moved down here from Maryland. So we played with them like way fucking back, and I've kept up with them since. And like every time they come to Orlando, I make a point to like go see them, just because it's like it's good to see people from back home. I don't get to do that a whole lot, but I kind of spearhead everything, which is why like I was able to move the project down here, is because I did everything myself. And for the most part, I just find like essentially just people who are like my friends that like I try and get them to just, I'm just like, hey, like one night, like, can you please like come practice a couple times, play the show real quick. And I did that twice in Maryland. And then did it once down here, and ended up everybody was like, no, we want to keep playing down here. So I was like, all right, cool. But yeah, I write it. The recording was done with like me and my roommate at the time, who is now the lead guitarist for the band. So yeah, that's kind of what I got. We're from Orlando, Florida right now. And I guess it was very funny hearing like classic metalcore as like the descriptor, because I never know what to tell people this band sounds like.
Even that descriptor in and of itself is like, I don't know. I just try to come up with something, right? But heavy music is heavy music to me. I kind of hate when people try to niche it into little genres or topics.
Absolutely same. Like I just struggle because I'm like, I never know what to call it, purely because of like what I like to call the 3 curveball songs on the album, where I'm like, these aren't like, there's 3 songs that very much sound very much the same, like similar vibes, similar like everything, and even one of those curveballs is similar to the other 2. And then there's just like 2 songs that I just wrote, and I was like, you know what, fuck my band, I don't care. Right. Like I'm gonna do whatever I want. Like
I totally respect that. I think that's what music needs now in like 2023 anymore. Like people don't really like
you reference Pulses, and I'm not going to sit here and talk about a different band that I've done a couple episodes with already, but like they are the epitome of like, yeah, we're a quote unquote post-hardcore band, but we're going to throw out a song that sounds like a new metal rap song. We're going to throw out a R&B song. We're going to throw out, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like in this day and age where, especially where you can record at home or just kind of like fuck with whatever you want. It's like, why pigeonhole yourself? Do whatever the fuck you want, And what I was going to say about, and we're going to dive into this and dive into where you started with music and all that kind of stuff. But what I liked about the latest release you've done, Snitch, is that I liked a little bit, I said metalcore, but at the same time, there's a few different moments. Like you said, there's a few curveball songs. There's also some parts in it where like, you kind of do like and I'm a big nu metal fan, so when I say this, I am saying this in a positive way.
No. I will take it so positively. My bassist will pop off hearing it.
Yeah. Like I hear some very like early Jonathan Davis, like whispery, angsty corn parts in it, and some of the guitar work in it, there's a little bit of like the grungy post grunge nu metal vibe in it, along with something that like I'm not referencing this band for any like cancelable reasons, but like then there's other moments that are like mid 2000s, almost like As I Lay Dying moments of like the music wise, and I mean that in a positive light. I know you say that band, you got to go whoopsie.
I know.
But all that kind of stuff. So what we'll talk about today, I guess, is where you started in music, where you got into heavy music, what got you started writing this music. I think since this release came out this year, we could talk a little bit about the inspirations, both musically and lyrically, if you want. I was looking through the lyrics today. A lot of, it seems like very like a personal, a personal record, maybe about relationships or whatever else. We'll see where I fuck up on that. But and then we'll see where music has kind of impacted you in your life, your views, all that kind of stuff. But I guess to start for you, you talked about you moved to Orlando. You're not like an original Orlando resident, probably grew up around like kind of, did you say you're from, sorry, I have like the memory of a newt. Did you say you're from Virginia? Like Pulses
No,
is? Or
I'm from Maryland, kind of like
just,
it's like 45 to half an hour, like north of Baltimore.
I gotcha.
Happened that another band that I was friends with was doing their tour kickoff in Northern Virginia. And I was like, well, I've never played that one, or I've never played there before. So like, why not? Ended up going to it, and Pulses played it. And I was like, it was like right at the peak of when I had like first got in. Again, we'll just keep bringing up like cancelable bands. It was right around the time I got like into Dance Gavin Dance. So like early Pulses like scratched that itch, but in such a different way that I was like, oh, I like this so much better. And it was so sick to like find that in a band that was like, fairly local at that point in like 2017.
Oh yeah.
Like fresh off a Bouquet. I still think I have my Bouquet CD. I don't think it got washed away in the flood that happened last year, but
oh yeah, you're in Orlando. That shit will happen. Yeah, that's right.
Oh yeah. Dude, that was insane. Hurricane Ian, me and my girlfriend woke up with like knee deep water in the entire house, and we were like, this is not great.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, that's the pros and cons of moving to Florida. You get the palm trees, you get the beaches, and you get the hurricanes, right? Unfortunately. But So starting off in Maryland, now that I got that fucking right for once, where did music first kick off for you? Do you remember a time where like, the first kind of bands you got into? Was it stuff your parents played and then you kind of got into different things? Just kind of speak to where music first really became a big impact for you.
Yeah. So there's a lot of like what I would call just like pivotal moments of me like doing music and stuff and just getting into music. I think the first one, and it like cracks me up to talk about any of it because it's like it's so cheap. Like I think the funniest thing is like there's not a single band that you listed on the like inspirations that you picked up on that I actually listened to growing up. Like I didn't listen to Korn. I didn't listen to As I Lay Dying. Like, and it's so funny because like I've gotten like the Slipknot comparison too. And I didn't grow up listening to Slipknot either. I was raised in like a very, very like pretty strictly like Christian household. Same. So like those were on the no list. Those were on the like, we're not listening to that. You're not listening to all the like screaming and like devil worshiper music and all that stuff. But like what I remember, and I think it it's still carried through, and it's so funny. But the first CD I ever owned on my own was my dad bought me. It was Toby Mac's Diverse City.
Yeah, I had that one too. I had that one too.
Okay,
yeah,
okay. So you know what I'm talking about.
A former Christian kid as well, man.
Let's go. But yeah, that was the first CD I ever like owned on my own and was ever like allowed to just like play it anytime I wanted. Like, you know, I didn't have to like fight my dad for time over it or anything like with all of his like CDs that he had. So like I listened to that thing over and over again, and like I think it still carries through because like again, I'm willing to do those curveball songs. Like I don't care. Like on that album, you've got like almost new metal jams, you've got like some just like pop rock, you've got some straight up just like pop, more hip hop influence stuff, and it's like it's so sick when you can do all of that and still sound like the same band.
Yeah,
and I think that's like it's something I would love to do. I don't think I quite nailed it on like the most recent stuff. Like I think the only way I tied it all together was with like the various like skits and interludes and stuff like that. But like, you know, I'll get there in time. From there though, like listen to a lot of that. Childhood friend got me into Green Day pretty early on, which was like another one of the big influences. Like I listened to them all grown up. And then like another hilarious moment was so my favorite band of all time is Fall Out Boy. Like,
hey, I'm from the Chicago area. They're like legendary here. You know, I get it.
Oh yeah. So they were my favorite band of all time. Funny enough, when I was in, I think 3rd grade or something like that, my mom actually forced me to return the copy of From Under the Cork Tree that I got for my birthday. Which is so funny because like became my favorite band in the end.
Well, and it's even more funny. I totally empathize because like From Under the Cork Tree, as far as pop punk records or emo records go, not explicit at all. Like really
so
not that
it's
explicit.
Funny.
You know?
Because like I thought about that when I started getting into them like later in middle school, and I was like, this is the only Fall Out Boy album with like no explicit language on it.
Right, there's
like,
a little bit of sexual innuendo and like Sugar We're Going
Oh
Down
no, that's
exactly
why she didn't want me listening to it. Was like that is a horny ass album.
That is a horny
like,
album.
Yeah, like I think that's why my mom did not want me listening to it. I would have never picked up on any of that, but like still I get it. But it was like, like take this because when I started like really getting into them, all the pre-hiatus stuff was out. So like Take This had like a couple of things. Obviously Infinity had like This Ain't a Scene, and then like Foley they were just like, yeah, we're gonna say fuck now. Like, we're gonna throw that into 27. So it was like, but then that album doesn't have like any like cursing in it at all, and it was like very
commercial,
very interesting.
Yeah. It's like you know, just because I totally empathize with like the growing up in a Christian house, like overly.
Yeah.
I'm not like ripping on anybody that's like Christian faith or anything, but like I mean like a very restrictive like. My parents would not let me listen to parental advisory albums, right?
Oh yeah, that was a big no. Like.
And the one that happened for me the same exact way was they didn't even let me listen to the record and buy it. There was Slipknot, I'm drawing a blank on the name of the album. It's the one that's got Duality on it and Before I Forget.
I don't know. Like I said, I never grew up listening to Slipknot. I haven't gone back and listened to it either, which is I feel like is a crime. But
you're canceled already. But the reason why they wouldn't let me buy it wasn't because it was Slipknot or this weird kind of grungy, gross looking album cover. It was because there was a song on it called "Opium for the People," and they were like, "Opium, that's a drug. You can't buy that."
Yeah, no drugs, no drugs.
Yeah. But so sexual innuendo not allowing you to listen to From Under the Cork Tree from Fall Out Boy, but your favorite band at that moment of all time or whatever. Keep going. I don't mean to interject here. Yeah.
I mean that whole argument is always crazy because like I think about like what my dad listened to because he was he was much more on like the Christian side of things and like was kind of the one like doing more of the like trying to control what I'm listening to and stuff to you know he wanted me to grow up to be a good upstanding citizen and all that. Like I get it. But like I think about like what the bands he listened to, and I'm like, they're talking about the same thing, man.
Yep.
Like AC/DC, Van Halen, Led Zeppelin, like all of these bands are talking about the same stuff.
Heroin and like, Big Balls, right there. Just from those two examples.
Yeah, exactly. Like You Shook Me All Night Long. Like we know what it's about. He's just being more subtle about it than say like Pete Wentz is writing lyrics.
So true.
But But yeah, from there, you know, get into like the big three in middle school for me were Fall Out Boy, Linkin Park, and Green Day. Didn't listen to pretty much anything other than that.
Yeah.
And then eventually, our next like little moment along the story is I'm going through the Target with my mom, and I see Warped Tour 2011 compilation on the shelf there, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be goofy, but like the dudes at youth group told me about some of these bands on here. Like they told me about August Burns Red, and like
Same.
I know who Paramore is. So I picked up that compilation, and like life changing right there opened me up to like so many bands immediately that I like listened to all throughout like middle and high school. Like it was like A Day to Remember was on that, Asking Alexandria, Attack, like all of those kind of like insane year looking back on it. Also like more insane because like it had both Attack and Of Mice and Men on at the same time. I'm like, why would like I feel sometimes for the organizers of that, because I'm just like, y'all just went and created like a logistical nightmare every year and still somehow made it like the highlight of my summer.
Well, it's sort of like in that instance of like a Mice and Men and Attack, it sort of reminds me of I don't know if you ever followed like the Woe Is Me issues kind of deal.
Oh my god. I was too young for it. I didn't quite get into it, but
I'm old, so I can remember when they decided to drop the diss tracks of each one.
Yeah.
People were.
I've listened to both of those, obviously, because I love both bands.
But
like, I got into them both late. Well, I got into Woe Is Me very late, but I got into Issues right around the time that I think like first album came out. But, I like listened to both of those, and I like knew that like obviously Tyler and Michael were in Woe Is Me before, so I was like, this feels like shots at each other.
Yeah,
like,
it was like, I remember, now it sounds so cringy to say, but when I was like, you know, because I was I don't know, I was probably like 19 or 20 when that happened, I think. And yeah, because I'm old. And I remember like people were just like, this is like the shitty scene version of like the Tupac and Biggie beef. Like this is just them dropping, like that was the shit that was going on Twitter at the time. That's how insane it was. You know, it was so ridiculous.
That's like fair. I thought somebody was gonna say like Metallica and Megadeth, but that's also
more
really,
accurate.
really fair.
But that was what was being said at the time because people had no idea what the fuck they were talking about. But it was so funny, but it was such a good marketing ploy. That's why I say even with Warped Tour with the Mice and Men and Attack thing, like music industry has always known, like, you know what would make us make more money is contention and beef always. Yes, 100%
sells.
But yeah, that 2011, to go back to what you're talking about, and I keep sidetracking us here, but like the 2011 Warped Tour compilation was stacked. Like I'm a few years older than you, and like the 2007 one, which had a lot more sort of like punk, like emo shit, but like same deal with me, whereas like you bought that and you're like, I've never heard of so many of these bands except for a few, and like this is changing my fucking life. Like there's so many great bands on it, you know?
Yeah, no, like it really like the big thing was it opened my eyes to like all these other bands I had never heard of. Because before that it was like the dudes at youth group were like, you got to listen to August Burns Red and Red, because I was at the time, I will say this right now, I was anti-Skillet in 2009, which let me tell you, what a battle to be fighting
in youth group. That is a
war. Yeah, in the youth group trenches, I was anti-Skillet, because I was like, every song sounds the same, and I was kind of bored of it. Unfortunately, like the songs that were good, but like
100%.
Every one of them were sounding the same. But they were like, hey, if you like that, but like want something different, like August Burns Red, like listen to those guys. But then that one like opened me up to like so many more, and it was great because there's even more on there that were like technically Christian bands, at least at the time, because like Devil Wears Prada was on it, Attack was on it, and I could be like, Mom and Dad, these are Christian bands, can I listen to these guys too? And they would be like, well, there's still that screaming we don't like, but like, yeah, sure,
got a good message or whatever.
Yeah, as long as there's like a good message. And then I'm like blasting like AC 130 that's screaming like you're better off dead and stuff like that.
But it's Christian, you know. Yeah,
it's a Christian band technically. But yeah, from there throughout high school, me and actually still to this day my roommate Jesse, he and I throughout, like, we reconnected because we went to the same elementary school. My mom even like substitute taught for him a couple of times. We eventually reconnected in like a music and arts, which was like the band instrument store back home in our like little small town. Him and I reconnected because like our moms saw each other and he was like, oh my God, that's my substitute teacher. We were both wearing like, it was probably like I was wearing a Black Veil Bride shirt and he was wearing like an Asking Alexandria shirt. But our moms were like, oh my God, you both love the same music. Here, go talk so we can catch up.
Yeah. Right.
So we met each other, completely forgot about it. And then like sophomore year of high school, he rolls up to soccer practice. And like, I think both of us were wearing the same Attack shirt at the same time. And we were like, wait a minute. We know each other from somewhere before. And from there, like we started going to shows together, mostly like we would go to Warped Tour every year. I didn't go to a whole lot until I could drive because it was kind of a pain to ask like any of my parents to take me to it. But once I could drive, we started going to shows like fairly regularly all throughout like my freshman year of college while he was still in his senior year of high school. And then eventually we went to a show and eventually we were like, because we started going to like some smaller shows like in the area, like because just as we discovered more bands, like these were like smaller bands on like smaller bills and stuff. And eventually him and I were like, dude, we could throw a show. Like, I don't know what we're going to do it, but like we could throw one. My parents lived in like, again, we were like up in like suburbs, almost like country town of like, it's Harford County, Maryland. So like, nothing going on, tons of land. My dad had just moved into like a farmhouse with like no internet, but a 3-car garage. And I was like, we could totally like borrow a PA from like the youth group and like throw like a metal show in the garage. And that was the first like proper show I ever played. I played for like the youth band all throughout like all of my years of going to youth group and all that.
Right.
Funny enough, I played bass back then and I was bassist for like pretty much up until like this year is probably the first year I'd call myself like a vocalist. But I was mostly playing like bass through all those years. And like, yeah, we threw together a band of like people who we knew played instruments. And we were like, all right, we're going to play like a bunch of covers that we like in the garage. We're going to invite like a couple of our friends that we know play music. And, it honestly was pretty sick. It's still one of like the most fun moments I had because it was all friends there.
Right.
Like it was like all people we knew from high school or like slightly outside of it. It was like all of our friends' bands. I don't think a single one of us sounded good that night.
Doesn't matter.
My friend was still trying to make his little like because this was like 2016. He was still trying to make his little like 21 Pilots-esque like rip happen. And it was like they didn't know anything about backtracks or like any of that. So he was trying to play. He was trying to play like everything on his MIDI keyboard as like everything was a disaster. But like we had so much fun with it.
That's all that matters. Yep.
And like after that, we asked all the guys. We were like, hey, like if we like wrote some music, would we want to keep doing this? And we did. We threw another show in the garage. This time we asked like a couple of like local bands that we knew of or like knew people in. Funny enough, one of them was like a complete Hail Mary to the band, so like the band is called Arc of the Sun that we had come in and like they headlined that night because we were like, this is a real band. We should have them be like the like last band to play and all that, even though like it's just going to be our friends that like show up and all that. But I saw them open it was a tour of like Chunk No Captain Chunk, I See Stars,
Scene Core. There we go.
Oh, what was it? I think The White Noise was on that one.
That was a solid. I don't know if they're.
I love that band.
I love that band. Yeah, they had a. I don't remember what the name of the song is because again, like I said earlier, I have the memory of a newt. But like there was a song from The White Noise that it was like the chorus like repeated let me bleed or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's is that Bite Marks or something?
Bite Marks. It came on to me I heard it solely because of the algorithm of Spotify at the time, and I was like, dude, this fucking rips. Like it's such an underrated song.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just fucking Icy Stars. Chunk No Captain Chunk, underrated live band. That band.
Oh, I was a big Chunk fan. It was me and my buddy Matt back home. We were like the only Chunk fans and like all the people we knew that listened to that music. But
quick story about them, because again, it's not about me. But like, I saw them open for A Day to Remember at the Rave in Milwaukee. Right, sold out crowd of like numerous thousands of people. And the next day, in the town that I live in now, that's a college town that like at the time only had a coffee shop that was a venue that like literally had, I don't know, it's like a 250, 300 cap venue. They headlined there on like an off day the next day, so I went and saw them headline there.
Nice.
Also, City Lights, who the singer in that is the bass player from Beartooth, like opened for them there, which was really cool. But
okay. I think I heard about that.
They both days didn't matter that it was the Rave, which is like a massive legendary venue in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, or that's a little podunk coffee shop. Dude came out in a full-on panda costume to like sing their set, and it like just fucking nailed it. It was so good.
That's so sick.
But yeah, so yeah, Chunk No Captain Chunk, Icy Stars, all those different bands, getting to do shows with them. Like, dude, that's fucking sick though. Like that you were just throwing that shit together in those kind of bands.
Well, no. Like those weren't the bands that played it. The band, it was the local opener for that show.
Oh, I gotcha.
It was, we heard them and we were like, yo, these guys are sick. Cause they also kind of had like the easycore thing.
Yeah.
Half pop punk, half like, they were like a half pop punk, half like periphery kind of thing.
Fuck.
It was very interesting.
Yeah.
It was sick as fuck.
Yeah, that's sick.
And I love those guys, but they had 3 bands with like the same members of like different styles. So they had like that one, a straight up gent one, and then like a more like post-hardcore pop punky one. The gent one was the one that was kicking off the tour for Pulses later. So like,
I gotcha.
It just string theory goes crazy in this entire story.
Yeah.
Like, if I hadn't just like on a whim hit up like this random band that I saw open for Chunk No Captain Chunk and Icy Stars, I would have never probably would have never heard of Pulses until like maybe this year or something like that.
Right.
But yeah, so like threw that one together. We played one original song at that one because we had one song ready. From there, we like kept it going, kept playing shows. We recorded a EP that went like about as well as you could expect the first EP to go. It sounds all right. One of the dudes from that band that like produced it, and like we were not happy at the time, but like he did a much better job than any of us could have done.
Right.
And like it does not sound bad. It just sounds like your first EP. I think it might have been his first time like producing anything or like mixing anything as well. So you know, it sounds good for what it is, but it was like we were playing like straight up metalcore. Like we were playing like Moss to Flames, like that kind of stuff. Yeah, we did that for a while. And then eventually Jesse, who was doing vocals for it, moved down to Florida to go to Full Sail for college. We even kept it going for like a little bit there. Like he would fly back, or like we would schedule shows like on his breaks or something like that. And then after a while he was just like, dude, it's too much. I can't keep spending money like this for like a band that's not really like doing anything.
Right.
So then I tried to keep it going because all the guys in the band were like, oh yeah, we still really want to keep playing. So I was like, okay, cool. Like, let's find a new vocalist. You know, let's keep it going. We played like one more show with the new vocalist, put out a single song, and then just, we stopped doing anything. Mainly because at the time, it keeps going back to Jesse, but Jesse, so he had another band that was, sounded a lot like Casey. It was called CqBwAfFlEs. And he started that. And I was just like a big fan because like I was outside of it. Funny enough, he started it with Alex, who's the guitarist of this band.
Right,
so
right.
It all comes together.
Goes. So like,
it's always like, I feel like once you have like a group that you rock with them forever.
Yeah.
And it's like, you just keep doing different stuff with like the same people.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they started making that. And I was like, this stuff's so sick. Like I'd never heard anything like it. Like I never listened to Counterparts. I never listened to Casey or like Misery Signals or like any of the bands that like inspired all of that, but they were playing this like really cool melodic like thing that I was a huge fan of. And eventually he was like, yo, we got our first show. I don't have a bassist. Would you want to fly down like just to like, cause we haven't seen each other in a while. You want to like fly down, we can hang out for the week and then like play bass for us. And I was like, sure, I got absolutely nothing better to do. And they had like gear there for me. I think I was on spring break, either that or like, I think it was like the week before spring break. So like none of my classes were having session.
Right.
And I just talked to all my professors. I was like, hey, I got a thing. Could we make this work? And thankfully all of them were like, yeah, like here's a couple of things that you can do online. So I came down, I played that show. It was out in the Noise Box in Tampa, which fucking incredible venue. I love that place. It's in like a Korean church. And if it's a small show, you play in the like tiny little Sunday school room, but they have like bigger festivals in like the main session room. But yeah, we did that. And then like, I'm not joking when I say every day after that, he would text me just saying, move to Florida, pussy. And like, this is in my junior year of college. Like I'm almost out. Right. So like every day I would tell him, I'm like, dude, as soon as I'm done the history and education degree, I'll move down there and we can give this thing a real shot. So like he had convinced me at that point. And that was when I was just like, hey, like I'm not going to do anything for this band that like I'm going to leave behind in a year. So I was like, hey, if you guys want to run things, like I can give y'all tips, I can give y'all pointers and contacts and stuff. And just kind of nobody was really motivated at that point. Especially because like at that point, like the two people that wrote most of the music would be gone. Like Jesse wrote 90% of it and I like helped a little bit here and there.
Yeah.
But it was kind of at that point, like just nobody who really like wrote everything was going to be there anymore. I kind of tried to like help the guys jumpstart another project. We started playing like straight up post-hardcore under the name Bounty, which was really, really fun. Like I loved those shows. Yeah. Like I knew I was never going to be in it forever, but it was fun playing stuff that was like, it was like Bless the Fall kind of type, like post-hardcore. Like it was a lot of fun. Like I really loved playing it. Got to squeeze in one more No Business show before I left. Just literally called up anybody and everybody. I was like, hey, I'm throwing like a going away show for myself. You want to play it?
Learning these
do
songs.
one last time.
Yeah.
And they came out. We played like all of the old EP that we had out, as well as like the one new single, which I scrubbed from the internet because it's terrible. But I had a scare with that recently, actually, because a couple of my friends messaged me. They're like, hey, like, because I listened so much to the band, like I got the No Business mix on Spotify, and like it popped up in Discord, and in it grayed out like song titles from those old EPs appeared, or like the old EP and the old single appeared, and I was like, oh no, it's still there somewhere. Someone could hear this like horridly mixed, horridly produced, because I did it all myself, and I didn't know I did not know what I was doing at all. But I had that scare of just like, oh no, somebody could hear this. And then they were like, nah, I don't see any of that. And I was like, okay, good. You're not supposed to. But yeah, and then I moved down here. Funny enough, by that time, CqBwA had like shifted a little bit. Basically, Alex was not vibing with it anymore. So then we were like, okay, well, we want to write something heavier. So then we kind of started playing stuff that sounded more closer to like Counterparts and 100th. We were under Dead Weather at that time. We changed the name to Stillheart after playing like one more show as Stillheart, and then we haven't done anything since because Jesse's been on the road doing front of house and guitar teching for like a bunch of bands, so he never has any time anymore. Yeah. But yeah, he had a lot of fun with that band. We were literally like gearing up to go on like first tour ever, which was the point where I was like, if I do that, like I could at any point quit music and be happy. Yeah, like, as long as I get to go on tour, I'm like, I could quit music and be happy at that point. Like I've done everything I wanted to do. Like I've released music. I've done like cool, like I've written songs that I like. I played for a band that people actually moshed for. Like if I could have just gone on tour, it would have been great. That tour was scheduled for April 2020, and we all know what happened there.
No, that I'm sure it went fine. Nothing big.
Yeah, nothing could have happened to that.
Yeah. All the venues were open. Everyone was healthy. It was great.
It was great. It was great. If you missed out on the Gradual Slip Dead Weather tour,
I myself really played hundreds of shows at that time. I don't know what you're talking about. No.
Yep. Yeah, but yeah, COVID obviously ruined that, and it sucked because it was like right as we were getting like everything going, and like we were even getting some of those opportunities to open for like bigger shows. Like right before, I think I don't remember if it was our last show or if it was the second to last show, but at Soundbar, which RIP venue that it really just moved locations. Like it's still the same management running a different venue now, but it was like our only downtown venue that like small bands could play. But we opened up. It was like one of Spite's tours, and it had like Varials, Orthodox. Oh, who's the other one? I know Dealer was on it. but I swear there was a fifth band, and I can't remember who
Spite
it
and
was.
Varials alone, though, that's.
Oh, it was an
sick.
insane show.
Yeah.
Like I was so excited for that one. Like Varials put out my favorite album of 2019, and like to be playing the tour like almost immediately after that was like dream come true type shit. Like In Darkness was incredible, and like also like Orthodox, who I've been following since I was doing sound at like the local bar in Maryland. Like it was so sick to get to open for those guys, which like I'm so happy that they're doing incredible things now. Yeah. Like their last album is so sick, and like it seems like they're making like good headway. Like that's a band that fucking deserves it, man. Like I could just talk about bands I love for like hours.
That's what I'm here for, man.
Hell yeah, man.
Like that, but that's cool. That's like a really cool backstory for all of this. I
didn't actually get to anything No Business.
No, that's okay. We're getting to it.
We're getting to
it. So this all kind of convalesces. You mentioned that No Business sort of did, you kind of did shows back in Maryland before you moved or anything like that. It's kind of your baby, right? For lack of a better term.
It was formed as an excuse for me to write songs.
Yeah.
So like every project I ever did, I didn't really like get it. Like even like both Dead Weather and the old like metalcore band that I played in, Remedy Within Ruins. If anybody wants to go dig that one up and listen to some,
I'll
like,
list all
like
these
Moss
in the
Flames.
notes, by the way. These will all be
okay, cool. But yeah, if anybody wants to go listen to my old bands, like I didn't get how to write for those bands, which like I think it's easier to keep like a very consistent feel to stuff when one person does all the writing with like input from everybody else. But like I didn't get how to write for those bands. Like I didn't get the styles. I still could not write a melodic hardcore song if I fucking tried to. So No Business was kind of born out of like me just wanting to write music, but not really being able to in any of like the bands I was in, because I sucked at it. And like all the early No Business stuff sucked too. So like I understand now why they didn't let me write, but like, cause I did like a whole EP of like easycore stuff. And then I was like, this is terrible. So then I did like my whole first EP, which like sounds similar to what I'm doing now still, with like the, like a darker sounding, like kind of, just like classic metalcore kind of thing, breakdowns, nice riffs and stuff. So like it was born out of me wanting to write music and wanting to be creative, but not really having like a way to do that in the bands I was in. And then eventually I got down here and I was like, all right, I'm down here. I'm only working full time. I don't have to worry about like homework or anything. Like, let me see if I can get No Business going down here again. And I wasn't able to until after the pandemic, but I came down and like started reworking some of the newer songs I had. And actually over the pandemic, me and Alex, since we were living together, I was like, hey, you're really, really good at this whole like mixing, mastering, producing thing. Would you want to do my stuff so that like you've got some portfolio work? I've got like an album that sounds good finally. And he was all down for it. We had a really, really good time. Like we reminisce about like the recording of that a lot. We had some moments like the day that he had to like solemnly come tell me we had to re-record all of the guitars for it.
Yeah.
But it was a very fun process overall. Like I could talk endlessly about that, which I'm sure we'll get to at some point. But yeah, we made that, and then for the what was supposed to be like the Dead Weather, now named Stillheart comeback show, I was like, can I have No Business open it just so I can like get a show under our belts and get a lineup together? And like Jesse didn't care. He was like, oh hell yeah, man, like anything to like get you playing some shows, because that was what I moved down here to do, and I hadn't done it in 2 years. So yeah, I got that lineup together, and everybody was like, yeah, we'll keep playing as long as you keep like doing stuff. So then we've been just kind of playing shows ever since. Yeah,
awesome.
Starting to get more active, thankfully.
Well, yeah, that's great. Again, like the newest, I would call it a middle ground between an EP and an album, because again, I
don't know what to call it.
I think but that's how a lot of, like, I don't know if you Bring Me the Horizons, the last full release they did was like 9 songs.
Yeah.
They called it an EP. I was like, that's an album, whatever. But like I think of like a Treyu's Death Grip on Yesterday, which has 8 songs on it, and that's called an album. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah,
it's all arbitrary. But this latest release, I'll call it, right? It's clocks in 27 minutes, 8 songs, right? I would call that like more akin to an album release in a lot of ways.
Yeah, that was that was why I called it an album when it came out. It's because I was like, it's over the time limit that the recording industry says.
They say 20 minutes
is an
for an
album.
EP, right?
I think it's 26 minutes and like 10 seconds or something like that. Whatever the length of Green Day's Father of All Motherfuckers is, because they literally wrote that the exact length to be an album, I think, to like get out of their contract.
Yeah.
Like
I think
I remember that like being part of it when that was rolling out.
That is certainly a set of songs.
That is a set of songs. One of the sets of songs of all time.
Yeah, it's got a collection of songs that exist. Yes.
Yes.
God, as a person that loves some classic Green Day albums, that is certainly a set of songs.
Yep.
But this record, I think, that you put out in 2023. I'm looking at the date you put out is January, right? Late January.
Yeah.
I think especially for a band that, at least when it comes to, or a project, do you have all the same like full members with you at this point, or is it?
So like since that show, August of last year, we've been rocking with the same group. We've obviously had some times where like somebody can't make it because of work or like something else they have going on. Our one guitarist, Johnny, he's got another band that like does fairly well for themselves. They're called Lost Trees. If you like Era, they're for you. He's in that, and he's also in I think I'm going to leave it at he's been playing drums in I Met a Yeti for a while at this point. I think he's like officially announced as a member, but I don't remember if he is or not.
That's another Pulse's
when they
looking for Pulse's pilled band right there. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, like I was going crazy when they put out Opulence featuring Pulses, because I was like, wait, that's my dudes from back home. How do they know them?
Fucking love those
it
dudes.
was so sick. So he's in like bands that tour actively. He's also doing like front of house for Magnolia Park right now, and like a couple of bands and stuff. So like he's gone all the time. One of our Alex, our lead guitarist, is like a project manager for like a national AV company. So they like send him out of state all the time and stuff. So like I'll either find somebody to fill in if like one of the members is going to be missing, or like multiple people will be, or like, we'll just play as a 4-piece if one of the guitarists is gone. Like for last show and this next show, Johnny's on tour. So like we're just playing as a 4-piece with like a backtracked rhythm guitar. It's what we got to do. And
it's how it goes, man. I get it.
I've done this enough times that the backtracks sound good finally. So like, I can't complain.
Kudos to people. Like, honestly, I used to be, I've played in bands my like whole life. I've probably got like hundreds of songs out there that I don't even remember are out there at this point. Right? And because I'm old and have, like I said, the memory of a fucking hamster, but like, or whatever animals I've been saying lately. But I really, really like, I was somebody like back in the day in the metalcore band I was in that kind of made the most steam or whatever. We like really pushed back on like the backing tracks and the, you only play what you got and all that. And now I'm like at the age I'm at, I'm like, this is fucking stupid. Like, like that. Actually, people that can play to backing tracks, like if you're just doing something that you need, or like additional synth or additional electronic stuff or whatever, you can't fucking hire a synth player because you're not a band like Architects that can hire somebody. Like the fact that you can play that tight, that you have backing tracks, to me actually means you're more professional than some like shitty, like sloppy band like I was in, that if we had to do backing tracks, it would have been a complete shit show. Like, no,
there's definitely some merit to that. I do understand like some bands that don't use backing tracks, like there's a couple of bands down here that like I'm like 90% sure don't play to backing tracks. I think they might still play to like a click, like their drummer might have a click for the songs, but like there's something to be said for some of those just like hardcore bands, especially that like don't play to a backing track at all. Like that's the vibe, man.
That's sick.
Like just
that's
nothing
great,
but just like nothing but just free flowing, just hard ass music.
Yeah, just sludge and nonsense, right? Yeah.
But for the last 2 bands that I've been in, we needed the backing tracks. For Stillheart, it was because we only had one guitarist and there was leads and rhythm, so like we had to have that extra rhythm guitar, otherwise like certain parts weren't being played. And then same thing for No Business, because like I've obviously got like all of the synthesizers and samples and like all of that nonsense. There's like some break beats in songs and like, I don't have the means to like be doing all of that, nor am I a talented enough keyboardist to be doing it and doing vocals at the same time.
Just like the logistics of it can be like,
oh yeah,
you know, I'm a big Stray from the Path fan.
Ooh, that's a big one over here.
Yeah. I mean, I'm wearing like the Downbeat beanie right now, right? I'm a big fan of that podcast, big fan of the band, all that kind of stuff. And like the drummer, you know, Craig Reynolds talked about the same thing, that they were like so anti-click track, so anti-samples, and they're like, we can throw in a little bit. We can do a little bit of click track. And the next thing he knew is like, after I played with the click track, I wanted nothing but the click track. Like it just can lock you in, and it just feels so nice to be so tight, you know? All that stuff is great, and like nothing deters from that. And people that are like against that are just fucking boomers at this. Even if they're 25, they're boomers, you know? Like, but to get to the newest record after all that, like really interesting story, all the kind of connections you have to all these different people in the music industry and various levels of people working for bands or playing in different bands and all this kind of stuff. Like, you know, this latest record you put out, Snitch, you know, you talked a little bit about the recording process. It was you and your roommate, Alex, you said. What was kind of the inspiration here? What were some of the musical influences, lyrical influences, all that kind of stuff? Just kind of speak to what was the kind of grounding point for this record.
I got you on this, brother. Don't you worry. So I notoriously am a little bit bad about like heavy inspiration on a lot of the stuff. Like, there's like parts I can pick out where I can just be like, I know exactly what I was listening to when I like wrote that and stuff. It's kind of a combination of like everything that I've been writing. So funny enough, there's a couple of songs on this that I have like, I'm going to finally shoot it. I have like a dream music video to do it for these two songs, which is Tattletale and Basilisk. Those two I wrote immediately after finishing the original EP that I did. And funny enough, they are largely unchanged from that point. Like there was maybe some like, maybe I like changed a pattern on like a riff or something, but like the general idea of those two songs is very much the same. Cause like I got done writing what was the last song on that original EP, which was a very, very quiet, very like mellow, like sad track, actually about my grandfather passing away, the year before I started writing all that. And then immediately after that, I was like, man, I just need to write some heavy shit. So like, I was like, I need to write like, and at the time I was like, I need to write something that sounds like Beartooth or like Let Live. So then I wrote Tattletale, which was like a faster song with like kind of the like like that kind of like riff to it. Cause I was like, I just want to write something with like cool little like bar chord riffs and like really fast and stuff. And then I came up with the idea for like that middle part where it like kind of drops out and it's like very like quieter, and it has like the Jonathan Davis whispers on that. I don't think that was part of it. I think I was just singing over that originally, but that was an Alex suggestion actually. He I think in the when he was recording it, he was like, "Yo, you got to do the corn thing over this," and I was like, "What do you mean the corn thing?" And he was like, "It like kind of like whisper sing it," and it turned out super.
You just got to act like you're so angry about something that you have to whisper. That's the
like, and that's kind of like the general theming around it is it's like I got this thing, but like I gotta tread carefully about talking about it because it's like, you know, it's one of those situations where I looked at it and I'm like, if I tell people about this, it fucking exposes this other side of me that I don't like. Like it exposes this side of me where just like I wasn't able to give up on something that was like very, very clearly not going anywhere in my favor. Every sign was there. Every one of my friends told me like, dude, just get out, get over it, like leave it behind. And like I just had this inability to get away from it. As well as just like, you know, I wasn't like the greatest person throughout all of that as well. Mm-hmm. And it's like, you know, in order to like, it's that like repeating line. I don't even know if it actually repeats throughout the album, but it's like I snitched on myself. The truth will set you free, but it will also condemn you. Like that kind of stuff. And it's just like, you know, if I tell the actual like whole truth about this, you know, I'm going down with it. Like,
right.
It's one of those things of just like, you know, it's one of those things of, I would like to be able to talk about this because I was hurt. But at the same time, like, I know I was very hurtful because of this situation as well. I know I was not the person that I wanted to be, like,
right.
Stuff like that. So it's like, it was a weird feeling that I wanted to talk about, as well as just like I was burned on this. It's very obviously about a relationship.
Yes.
I was very, very burned on that. I think I spent like 8 years crushing on the same girl, and just like I should have known. Like, again, it's all on me at this point. Like, I can be as mad as I want about it. I can be as mad as I want about all of the like moments of like, oh, now's not the right time, or like, you know, like that kind of stuff. But like, I should have known, man.
Yeah.
Like,
well, and it's good to acknowledge that in a very like nuanced way of like, you know, because metalcore, especially like the things we've referenced from like 2011, 2012, there's a lot of instances in there of what I would call misogyny and like just
speaking of woe is me.
Yeah. Talking about just
what was that one? It's like, it must be hard talking shit with that dick in your mouth.
Just homophobic or misogynistic or whatever. Yeah, I listened to that song like 6 months ago because I like kind of remembered that era. And I was like, I'll check this out again, because I've listened to Issues more than, you know, there's a whole thing with that now with Tyler Carter or whatever. But I remember that whole instance, and like I listened to that song again, and I was like, holy shit, this is aged like fucking milk.
Yeah,
you know, like this is not
absolutely
good. Like
spoiled.
Yeah. It was like curdled and fucked. Like, it was like, holy shit, this is so homophobic. And what's crazy at the time, not to like talk about Issues while we're talking about your record, this is a great conversation, but like,
what's crazy, I was talking about Issues all day, man. I took bass lessons from Sky. Like, I love
Sky
that,
is
man.
Fucking sick. Like all those instrumentalists are fucking insane. Like, so good. AJ, oh my God, all those guys are so good. Like, legendary people. But I remember when that came out, the big thing about it was that like Tyler had not come out yet, and so they had actually made this diss about him in a homophobic way, that also in a way that like nobody really caught, but like it was sort of obvious at the same time. They were making a joke about somebody's sexuality that he hadn't even said yet. Right. It was like extra fucked. Like, it was super fucked.
Oh my God.
And so like, you know, obviously that whole situation is so terrible, but like, you know, you think about like, there's a big difference between that kind of thing and like when people, I used to like be very against, like, I actually like recently I kind of turned my mind around on this, of like records about relationships or songs about relationships, because a lot of times, especially in heavy music where it's aggressive, people are like really pouring emotions into it very rawly, it can come off as like sort of like aggressive about the relationship and be like kind of a bad pill in it, you know, where like I felt like this record, you like, or like these songs, you know, I'm not saying every single song is about a relationship. You can kind of speak to that, but like,
no, they all are.
Okay, that's what I seemed like when I read them. But I was gonna let you say that. But I'm glad I was right. But you know, it's cool when people do that in a way that's like sort of more storytelling and introspective. While you're still like, it's introspective, but you're still saying like, this fucked me up, or like, these are the things that I think were wrong, or whatever else. But you're still being like, this messed me up also because of me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that's a great like nuanced approach to songs like that, to where like, again, all it comes down to is a good song is a good song is a good song. And whether you write good lyrics or you write fucked up lyrics is totally on you. Yeah. Right.
Exactly. And like, I mean, that was like one of the things that I was keeping in the forefront of my head, especially when I was writing this. 'Cause like, while I was writing this, I was still actively friends with this person. I haven't spoken to her in maybe like 2-3 years at this point, but like I was still actively friends. So I'm like, I need to get this out, but like, I don't want to do it in this way that's like, oh, like, fuck you, you're the worst, like you're an evil person, like all that kind of stuff. Like, obviously I have to let something go on for 8 years. Like, I have to have some kind of responsibility in that.
Yep.
I have to. There's no way it is not equally as much my fault.
Right.
But yeah, it's funny that you say that. And like, there were times on this that like, I felt like I treaded that line of almost being too aggressive with it. And like, I absolutely stepped over it on one of the new songs we have, but it was in like kind of a just a comical way of I wanted to write some hard ass lyrics.
Yeah,
and
like it's
I
not
obviously
directly
don't
about
feel,
the person. Actually, you're just like writing in
it
an
like
emotional
kind of
state,
is,
right? Yeah, yeah.
It's like the comically overdone version of
yeah.
like,
I mean, that's music.
yeah,
You know?
yeah,
yeah.
Like it's one of those things where I'm like, I absolutely don't feel these things, but I did at some point, and I was like, let me just write the hardest lyrics possible for our little set opener, which now we're morphing into a full song, and we're redoing a couple of like the older songs that I took down and stuff. So like, I'm excited to get all that going. We're going to hopefully track most of that like this month and next month.
Nice.
Hopefully I want to try and get it out on the anniversary of the album, because it's going to be like the Snitch deleted scenes. Cause I did the whole, like, it's supposed to play out like an 80s movie.
Yeah.
So I'm like, let's keep the movie vibe going. Like we'll do like the deleted scenes as like the B sides of it.
Hell yeah.
And all that stuff. I always have some like weirdly too big for what I'm doing idea, and I have to like cut it down to get anything out. I've had this idea for the music video for Basilisk and Tattletale for like ages, and it's like a full blown like full like short film kind of thing going on, and I'm like, I have no budget to do this. Fucking Hayden and I are going to try with his little Canon 5D and like the band, but like we'll see what happens with it, man. I hope I can get it done, and that's like good enough.
That's the worst though, like, because I can empathize with like projects I've done or I'm currently doing where like you have this idea for visuals along with it, because unfortunately bands now more than ever, like, you need a visual along with the music you're doing.
Oh yeah, right? You got to be posting that on like TikTok and Reels and all that,
or at
stuff.
least have like a YouTube video along with whatever you're doing. Like I'm not I do the TikTok shit. I fucking hate it. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you, but like
it always feels so weird. But I feel like I just got to break out of that thing, because like we had one that like went like fairly viral. It was me like right before I think it was the second set we ever played. We started playing at like midnight. So I started up the set. I was like, hey yo, we playing 4 songs. I got work at 6 a.m. No business. And we just like ripped our like 15-minute set, which like the joke of it, which TikTok did not understand, was that we only were going to play 4 songs no matter what happened.
Yeah.
But nobody understood that. And I also screamed no business, praise and worship as a joke. And everybody in the comments was like, Christian metalcore in 2023. And I'm like, dog, it's a joke. Like, come on, this went outside of its intended audience.
this broke release or whatever people say.
But then
dinosaur. I don't know. But you know, like that is frustrating when it comes to bands. Like, I can empathize with that. Where like especially when you write songs that have a specific storytelling thing. Yeah. Or you know, say you're a band that's like writing about some socially charged thing or whatever else.
Yeah,
and like
absolutely.
You want to make something that's like really emblematic of that. You want to make a visual for it, and then you look up what your budget is, and you're like, I have $5, you know. And
pretty much.
And then you got to work with what you can work with, right? And you got to get extra creative with what you can do, right? So I'm excited to see that. I hope it pans out well.
I hope it does too. It feels weird doing a music video for 2 old songs to go along with releasing new songs, but like, you know, it's something I've wanted to do. It's one of those where I'm like, this is not the right way to go about it, but it's the way I want to, and like that matters more in this moment.
Well, and you know, anything from the music industry or being in a, you know, independent band, local band, whatever you want to call it, nowadays is that there really are no rules. Like, people try to pigeonhole rules. There's people on various social medias, like you said, TikTok or Twitter or whatever they call it now, or
they'll
Instagram.
Be like, you got to be doing this if you want your band to blow
like,
up.
Matt Burridge and I talked about this on the Pulses episode I just did. Where like they wrote a whole song about the fact of like people trying to tell you what you should do with your band when it comes to exposure, and it's like, fuck you. I will do what I want and let the chips fall where they may. And if I try to do everything everybody else is doing, posting 5 times a day, doing cringy whatever shit, and like I'm not shitting on any bands that do that. I get it. They're trying to make it. They're trying to do whatever. Like
and like when it works, it works.
When it works, it works.
Like my buddies in Heavy Hitter right now, like are doing exactly that. Like they're posting constantly, like on TikTok and stuff, and
I just
like
don't have the capacity, man.
they're clearing like I think they've gained like somewhere like couple like tens of thousands of monthly listeners on Spotify because of it.
Right, so do it.
Yeah,
you know
it worked so well. Like, and Austin from Heavy Hitter is exactly the kind of guy to do that stuff. Like, he's the exact like meme lord, like unserious dude that has exactly the personality to do it. And I think that's why it works for them.
Yeah, and at the same time, that doesn't mean that's what everybody else has to fucking do.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like, I think the bottom line is like you try to get exposure how you try to get exposure, whether that's shows less so unfortunately now anymore, or whether it's various online endeavors or music videos or whatever else. But like at the end of the day, it's like I was talking again, not to reference them a million times, but like I was talking with Pulses about this exact same topic, and we talked about at the time when we were recording, there was that emo trash song that like got
oh god, yeah. I think I remember that in the podcast in the episode.
And millions and millions of listens, and it's like that does not mean that band's gonna tour well. That does not mean
not at all,
because it's not a good song. It went viral, but it's not a good song. A good song is what's going to make or break a band. Like virality or social media influence, that is definitely going to help you if you could figure out the niche for yourself, right? Like there's no questioning that. As much as I hate that shit and I'm like a boomer in that respect, like I'm
terrible at it.
I totally understand. So I know people tell me I have to do it more with this podcast. I'm like, I don't have the energy. Fuck it, whatever. Like, you know what I mean though? Like it I do get it's a huge component, but like if the song isn't good, is somebody going to come say, you're from Orlando, somebody going to come see you in fucking, I don't know, like Arizona if you do some cringe shit that goes big? No, like it's not like it's not the way it goes. So it's great that these songs are great. I am super like appreciative that you messaged me from these episodes and we talk, because like this is kind of to me a hidden gem, this record. Like, and I'm excited to see,
dude, thank you,
where things come from with it, because like I think the screams are solid. They're very, what's great about it is they're not like, you're not trying too hard on it. They're overly, they're articulate. Anyone that's listening knows exactly what you're saying. The music's solid.
Yeah.
Everything else, the production's very good, especially for like a up and coming band. And I just really hope people that listen to this or like hear about your band and other means really keep going with it. Cause I think especially with what about music, what about the live music scene, the friends that you have, the connections you have, whatever else, I think there's a big future for you. So I really appreciate you like talking about this record, talk about the influence on it and all that kind of stuff. Not to like, not to talk you up too much, but I think this record is really solid, especially for like, I'm not shitting on this at all, but like the monthly listeners I saw and everything else, when I checked it out, I was like,
oh yeah, no, it's abysmal. I have no idea how to market this band and get people to listen to it.
But you'll get there, man. Like, and that's kind of why I've had some bigger bands on this and stuff, but what I originally did this for was like the idea, both when I talk to journalists or whatever about social issues, or like when I talk to bands up and coming, like my idea was to talk to up and coming bands. It's not to talk to, I've got connections to bigger bands. I'm going to have them on here or whatever, but like, the up and coming band stuff is what actually excites me. So like, I really am excited to see where this goes. Next record you put out, I'm going to have you on and talk about the record,
I'm horribly bad about like constantly writing more than I have like, more than I should.
But you get what I mean. Like, I think this music has a lot of staying power, and I definitely hope more and more people check it out. I'll be excited to see where it goes for the years to come here. I have one more question for you as we go through here, and I appreciate your time with this and working with my schedule and stuff with all the craziness today. You've probably heard me ask a couple people on this. I asked Andrew Herman this. I asked a few other people this. Last question I ask people when they're on, say everybody else drops off this band, say you want to start a new band, whatever else. You could be the vocalist, you could be the bass player. I'm guessing you'd want to be the vocalist because that's the most fun.
Yeah, I'd probably stay.
Dream team, whatever people say, dream team or fantasy league band issue. Who do you pick, living or dead, to be in your band?
Yeah. Ooh. See, I it's funny because like I kind of knew it was coming from like listening before.
Yeah.
So I've had time to think about it, obviously, and like as soon as I heard it on the Andrew episode, the Johnny Booth episode, I immediately like thought, I was like, who would I do?
I think it's a fun question, to be honest. Some people fucking hate it, but
it is. It's such a good one. I think honestly, I would just pick like all of my favorites of like each instrument. So like drums, I'm going with Chris Turner from Ocean's 8 Alaska.
godly, unreal.
Exactly.
Do you hear him on the new? Do you listen to Nick Nocturnal's music from Termina? Have you heard that at all?
No, was he doing that?
So Termina is him and Andy Cizek from Monuments.
Okay.
And then they announced after they released a record that Chris Turner did all the drums.
Oh my god!
And I was like, that's insane, fucking ridiculous. Yeah, and obviously Ocean's 8 Alaska, he's insane on, like, so good.
That was another one that I
would. They barely even like compress it.
I know,
like it's so ridiculous.
That was another one that we went to like growing up, or like in like right before I think I went to college. Like we went and saw them on tour, and we were like, no way, this guy's gonna be able to play this live. And Chris just ripped it.
Best part of the band, in my opinion. Like, good band. Best part of the band by far, you know.
I will agree. Big Chris Turner fan. Yeah, that was another band that inspired me heavily for like writing, because I was like,
absolutely.
they nailed on that first record, just doing like such a nice like dark with still like a light concept going through it kind of album, like incredible shit. I almost feel bad we didn't get to talk about the album much, but you know.
You know what? We'll
come back.
We'll is there, I guess here, but while we're going here, is there anything else you wanna mention about the album instrumentally, production wise, anything else?
I think I just want to talk about Slow Dance, because that's the other day. I think I saw like a Twitter thing. It was like, show me like the best thing that you've ever written, and like 9 times out of 10, I'm like, okay, I want to promote the heavy stuff because like that's what's going to draw people in. But like I just had to throw Slow Dance on that. That one was such a fun song to make because it changed like so many times. Like that was one of the ones that it changed like endlessly over the creation of it. Like it started off as like a very weird like acoustic guitar with like trap beats kind of thing. Like it almost sounded like it wasn't supposed to be like this.
Yeah.
But with like my nerdy ass doing vocals. So like it started off as that, and it was like kind of like the whole concept for the album was very different. At one point it was going to be like different like stages of life. And then I went with just the concept that was for Tattletale and Basilisk, which was originally, it was going to be like all 4 seasons. It was called Summer, blah, 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 blah. Too much to go through. I could talk for hours, but so I had that was going to be like the closing, like, it was basically like a suicide note kind of thing. And eventually when I was retooling everything, I was like, I can't have this on here because it just does not fit like the vibe at all. The vibe is an 80s movie. What's important to 80s movies? Every 80s like love story has like the homecoming dance or whatever. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I want to write a song that would have been played at like a homecoming, like, or prom dance, like back in the 80s, like just one of those like love ballads. And Alex thankfully was like all on board for it. He was like, this could be the sickest thing we've ever done. So like, I kind of just like redid it with like synths and stuff and like a regular piano. And then Alex was like, nah, I think we got to like, because it was originally going to sound closer to what like the synths in like Tattletale or like Basilisk sound like. But Alex was like, nah, we got to lean into this hard. So eventually we were like, okay, cool. We'll do like piano opening. We'll do like the build up with the drums. And he like was just like, nah, I got the perfect tone. Clicked a couple buttons on his Axe effects. And I just look over and I see like 80s Alex Lifeson on it. And I was like, this man's about to put the Rush tone on the power ballad. And it turned out incredible. And it was like,
yeah, I mean,
I just love that song. Like all of the influences that came together to make that. Like I openly admit it. I totally ripped off a Pierce the Veil song for like one of the big moments in that song. And I totally ripped off Torn by Natalia Imbruglia.
But that's what a lot of music is though. Is just you say rip off, it's taking influence, right? That's really
absolutely.
You know, well, you know, no, that's like again, like I think we did talk about the album pretty well overall with the overarching points. But again, to your point, there is like when I reference that it's a classic metalcore-ish influence record, that doesn't mean there aren't like these interesting moments. And it kind of like when, you know, I talked to Andrew Herman from Johnny Booth. You know,
don't get me started on that record.
And that record is very fucking heavy, has a lot of shit going on, and yet there's curveballs in it. There's total weirdness in it that's great. There's total like, and again, that's what I mean about music in this day and age. Like the main thing you need to do is not pigeonhole yourself. Like,
yes,
you know, you talk about making this record and you know putting a lot of darkness in it and heaviness in it, and then you can make a song like that still has like that same. It still has that stuff in it, but like. it like in the sense of like it still fits the release and all those kinds of things, but like you do whatever if you wanted to throw in a fucking Frank Sinatra inspired song, go for it. You know what I mean? Like
it's funny you mentioned that. We that was a sample that we did for a little while, and like before one of the songs I would literally just sing to an instrumental version of Blue Moon.
Oh, amazing.
It was only live, we never recorded it, but it was just like it was like a little transition thing because people had to switch guitars. Because we used to bring a set for drop D and drop B. Thankfully we don't play slow dance live yet because we haven't played a show that like warrants it, and Cinderblock's an easy enough song that we just play it and drop B but just like move everything up 3 frets. But I would do that so they would have time to change to the drop B guitars so we could start all the like heavier stuff later in that set. But yeah, I will continue to do whatever the hell I want, and that's where I'll leave it. If you know, I never know how to market it. I never know what to tell people it is. I just call us a rock band because it's easier that way.
I saw that.
Another thing
I
I
think
pulled
on was it? I have it pulled up here on what
like
was it
Spotify.
you called it?
I think it just says
on
some
Spotify.
kind of rock
you
band.
said some kind of rock band from Orlando.
Yep.
That's
another thing I pulled
though,
from
man.
Issues, because Issues was going by like Issues Rock US or something like that, and I was just like, if they can call themselves a rock band, surely I can do it too.
And you know, genres are stupid at this point. It doesn't fucking matter.
That's what I'm saying.
But yeah, again, to reiterate before we get going anywhere else on this and before we get into the end of my dumb question here, make sure anybody that's listening to this, and I'm going to plug this in the intro obviously heavily as well, listen to the latest album. I'll call it an album, Snitch, that came out in January from No Business. Eclectic record. I enjoy it with all the different things that I enjoy, from you know, somber music to heavy music to, you know, breakdowns to heaviness to emotion, whatever else. Definitely something that people need to check out, and definitely underrated in my opinion, dude, for sure.
Dude, thank you so much. It means a lot to actually hear this. Like I funny enough, people don't tell me they like this record a lot. They tell my bassist all the time, which is the funniest thing. Like I guess Hayden looks a lot more approachable than me or something. Like he does look like you're just like, he looks like your like metal coworker, like best friend. I guess I don't look as approachable, but like his friends and like people at work and stuff, they come up and tell him all the time. They're like, dude, the record's so sick. Like the record's incredible. And every time he's like, go tell Paul, I didn't write a thing for it. I didn't even play on it. Like, it's so funny how that happens. But like,
I know.
Seriously, I'm so glad you enjoyed it.
Absolutely.
It really means the world, man.
I wouldn't have had you on otherwise, I'll be honest, right? So 100%. To get back to and I'm going to edit this to where this all makes sense chronologically, but my
bad for messing up the order.
It doesn't fucking matter.
Taking up your time.
This is how podcasts go, right?
That's fair.
But we said Chris Turner drums. Okay, so we're getting to the lineup here. We got Chris Turner drums. Could do guitars, do a fucking saxophone player if you want to. I had the dude from or I shouldn't say, Dan Hodson from Cowboys.
Yeah, Dan from Cowboys. He picked fucking Beethoven. He said
Beethoven.
Which was hilarious.
So you never know, right? So go for it, man.
All right. I'm gonna get a little wild with it. So I'm gonna get through the normal instruments. So like bass, I'm picking Sky Accord.
Yeah,
for sure. That's the man who taught me to play bass, or like taught me to play bass properly. So like I would pick him in a fucking heartbeat. Just the best in the business. Guitar was honestly like the hardest thing for me to think about because I don't think about guitar a lot. Like I came up a bass player. Yeah. Like I came up playing bass in all these bands, so I always paid attention to like bassists and drummers and stuff. If I gotta pick one though, I think I'm picking Austin from Orthodox.
Okay, solid
dude
pick.
Rips.
Solid pick.
Like he. All the way from back when he was playing with fucking Trauma Queen, I was like, this dude is sick. Like he's just playing it upside down like it's nothing. Like, and he plays it fully upside down. Like he doesn't like
does the Hendrix
flip
thing,
the
right?
strings or anything. Like the low strings are on the fucking bottom.
Yeah, does the Hendrix
like, dude,
deal. Yeah.
Yeah, like absolutely insane. Like he's so fucking talented, and I'm so happy he's with Orthodox and doing incredible stuff.
Yeah. That puts us at. You could pick another guitarist if you want to.
You know, I'll pick like a guitars / like keys thing. I would probably go with like Patrick Stump on that one just because I love Fall Out Boy, and he is such an incredible songwriter.
Could do some of the hooks or some of the harmonies with you as well. So
exactly.
You go,
yeah. I would have to go with him, man. Like that. He probably is my number one inspiration for like everything musically.
Very unique voice, very great range, and actually like a very solid guitar player as well. You know?
Oh yeah, it's solid all around, like just songwriter
and piano player too. Yeah.
Like that's why I'm like he could do like keys and guitar. Like he can do it all. So
I'm picturing it all, man. Is there any theremin player or
I don't know. Did Brian Wilson play the theremin in the Beach Boys, or did he just do vocals? I can't remember.
We'll say he played the theremin. So
we'll put Brian Wilson on
players on the show for like 10 episodes, and no one's picked it. So we're gonna just pretend he did. Doesn't matter.
Even if he didn't, I'm sure.
Instrument, it's more just waving your fingers and thinking about Star Trek. I think.
He had the vibes. That's all you need for the theremin.
That's what it's all about. Yeah. Great picks for everybody, man.
Thank you.
This has been great talking to you, Paul. Last thing, just plug where people can find your band, plug where people can find you, plug, whatever you want to do for the socials and all that. And then also say what song you want to play at the end of this.
Oh, that's such a tough choice.
Gotta do it, man.
I thought about it for so long and I still haven't picked one. Okay, so for the band, if you want to find us on everything, we are nobusinessfm at nobusinessfm. I took the dot out of it recently, so they're all the same because my girlfriend yelled at me for that while like running the merch booth because she was trying to put like where to follow us and stuff, and she was like, "Why is the Instagram the only one with a .fm?" So I changed it. It's all nobusinessfm, no spaces or anything. No Business on YouTube and Spotify, Apple Music. You might just have to search like No Business and then a song name because No Business, like Snow Business, likes to come up every time I search it still. Even though I'm in the band.
No Business on Spotify, I will say maybe it was because I had already looked it up, but it was the first thing that came up. So
maybe maybe Spotify is like, okay, you guys have people like consistently listening every month now. But yeah, you can look that up on any of that. Personal stuff, I go by my Xbox Live gamer tag that I made when I was 12 on all of my social medias because I started Twitch streaming over the pandemic. So you can find me on everything at CqBwAfFlEs. So if you want to catch
this is going to catch notes, and I'll be stoked to put at CqBwAfFlEs in there. That'll be great.
Yes. If you want to find me on like Instagram or Twitter or Twitch, that's where you can find me. If you want to watch some like semi-pro Halo gameplay and just like FPS shenanigans, sometimes I do JRPGs, but like nobody wants to watch them, so like I battle with it all the time. That's kind of all the stuff I do. I don't think I'm missing anything.
No. I mean, you plugged it all. Just very last thing. Just pick the song. I would say I'll narrow it down for you. Pick a song from. Obviously, this doesn't help much, but pick a song from Snitch.
It's the only thing I have out.
Yep.
But
and I'll also, to be fair, I might play an intro one as well. But just pick whatever song you think. Think about like.
Yeah.
No one's ever heard your band before. No one knows what you're doing. Pick the one that you think is the most solid or best sell song,
Yeah. I think in that case, I gotta go with Tattletale. It's the album opener. It's fast. It's heavy.
It's the one that has the most listens as well, I notice as well.
Yeah, that's kind of why I didn't want to pick it, is because like my favorite on the album is Chains. I
might
love
agree
that
with
song.
you. I have to listen through it again, but I might agree with you. But Tattletale is a ripper. It's got some good like kind of one-liner lyrics as well, I think. That are identifiable and great in metalcore, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And everyone's looking for the one-liners. They used to solely make merch on that. And
the little like arched words and picture of you playing.
Yep, 100%. So we'll play Tattletale at the end of this. If I have space for it, I'll pick one myself and put a little bit of a snippet at the beginning. And thanks so much for coming on, Paul. I really appreciate it.
Dude, thank you so much for having me. I honestly did not expect you to hit me back for it.
It's what I'm here for, man. I want to bring on bands that that need the love and I think are good. So I think you fit that category, and I hope in the next year or so we see a lot of growth for you guys. I think it's gonna work out because the songs are great. So again, check out No Business. Listen to the song Telltale at the end of this, and we'll end it here. Thanks so much.
I should have trusted my God, but you made me so nauseous. It's like a butterflies turned into locusts. When I came out of my shell, just to crawl back in, I thought I'd shed my own race, when I laced the dough for my sins. But I'm still the same kid. The truth always comes out in time. No matter how hard you try and hide. Boy, I feel tired of losing myself, and I'm starting to think that you never meant well. I'll take a path to blame, but only if you pull your own way. I was so overbearing, didn't know when to quit, but you never had the guts to say no. Was your reason too selfish? I guess we'll never know. The truth always comes out in time. No matter how hard you try and hide. Boy, I feel tired of losing myself, and I'm starting to think that you never meant well. I snitched on myself.